My name is Nassine Saps.
Let me ask you a question. Has anything ever happened to you that you couldn't explain? That made you feel sort of foolish when you tried to tell somebody about it? Well, if it has, you have plenty of company, as you'll soon see.
We want to capture one of these guys. I was all set up. We were going to put one of these guys in a deep freeze. Because I figured, he and I know these things so well, that we know how they operate. We know that they operate in a hive mentality in a sense in that they are connected to one another and they don't want to be by themselves. So the two of us were thinking that the two of us would be no match for those guys, and that we wanted to get proof. That never worked out, but when I think back on it now, I just kinda laugh about it. I think I laughed about it then and realized that they don't want certain people together. Even those evil creatures do not want certain people together who can expose them for what they are, demonic entities.
You can't capture one. In controlled conditions, I could actually kill them. But all they were was a dark mass of evil entities that would just go into another dimension. And so they lie. In other words, a lot of the crafts that now don't get me wrong, I've seen a lot of crafts and been inside of a lot of crafts willingly, because we had to go in with the scientists to make sure that nothing went wrong, and we used a special kind of bullet that kills them. And
I've had so many experiences with the Greys, and I've been on many different ships, or craft. I have even telepathically operated their own computer systems. In fact, the first time I ever remember being abducted, it was by a little Grey that looked like Aleister Crowley's drawing, which he called Lamb.
I've seen it.
Okay, I've only seen one little Grey like that. He was like in charge. Wherever he would go, they were all afraid of him. He was always there when I would be taken. It would always be him, and 3 others that were always with him. They taught me about the computer system, and they taught me about the cloning. They taught me about genetics, and they even had their hybrids doing cloning for them. The hybrids were also doing babysitting, and all of this activity, the genetics, the cloning, and the advanced computer systems doing DNA design and manipulation. All of this was going on in the craft. I'm thinking, in fact I know this, that I was actually there on real ships and craft. You have to remember that these craft are interdimensional and can exist or operate in what we would call the spirit domain, or the realm of the fallen ones. I also remember seeing other life forms there that they were dissecting, and even I have been on the table myself a few times. And I know a great deal of how they are from those experiences myself. I couldn't place it though. For many years I could not understand where it fit in relation to all of my other experiences. Why the Greys? I couldn't see how all of this fit into the satanic spiritual hierarchy which I had been involved with, which many people call the Ascended Masters. Actually they call themselves the Ascended Masters, and I couldn't understand how that, the Greys, fit into this, but I am now starting to see that it is all interconnected in a satanic and demonic system or hierarchy of control and organization with the goal to fight and destroy Jesus Christ and his begotten children here in our domain. But we know that will not happen, as the Bible was written outside of time and space, and we know how the story ends. Those that belong to Jesus Christ win.
Every one of them are evil. There is not one. And I've told this to other people before, not one, not nary one that's not satanically connected. Not one. Number one, when I said they give you a delusion, I didn't say all the time. They do abduct people, and they used to bring them to, and we would have to guard the experiments. And they would poke and prod and all this stuff to traumatize you. And God doesn't do that, number one. He doesn't send a spirit of confusion and fear. And number two, you're protected by the Holy Spirit. And the way that they change your DNA, and you might find this funny, is with a bite.
I never heard of that. That is interesting.
They bite you like a snake, and that's why people have marks and all these things, and they think, and when they bite you, sometimes they put something in you, and a lot of those things that they put in you mean nothing. It's just there to confuse everybody. Oh, I've got implants and this and that. Yeah, you got implants, but it's nothing more than a piece of unexplainable metal that they get from outer space, because they can travel there, but they're not from there. They're from here. And they've actually, have to tell you the truth, when we were down there, my job was to guard them against each other, number one, because they'll kill one another out of jealousy and hate. They don't have they're mindless, they're very intelligent, but they have so much hate, and they know that their end is near, that they were stupid enough to even tell us that. And I remember in an interview, the biggest hierarchy is the reptilians. They are the ones that run the deal. And I have heard interviews where the reptilians would shapeshift their eyes and their teeth, and that would be it, because they were a little bit higher up than most of the entities that I dealt with, and they could hold their shape and their form a little better, but they got angry. And I remember the one telling us that we had free will, and this came right out of their mouth. I'm listening to this thing in shock, number one, because I'm seeing it. To actually see one in controlled conditions is a whole lot worse almost than seeing them and erasing your memory. And I used to think, man, those people got their memory erased. I don't know if they haven't got the better end of the deal, because I have to live, my wife has to live with it every day, hearing me complain, and Paul will tell you, I got bad anxiety problems from that place, don't I, Paul?
Absolutely, yep.
And so when I was down there, he was saying that we could change the course of everything, that we did not have to do anything that they told us, and that we won't, and they know it. And they mention God, they call him, they don't call him God, they call him the master of universal law. That's what they call him. And told us that the master of universal law has set limits on them, and they cannot do anything without our willingness, and that they operate on fear, and that they can smell the fear, and to them it's almost like opiates to opium to a person. It works similar in the same way. They actually get drunk off the smell of fear. They get drunk off of it. And so they have an addiction to the smell of fear. And so when they get somebody, they're not only trying to manipulate DNA, but they need that fear to get a high from it. They actually are addicted to the fear. And so as time went on, of course, I collected myself pretty good and got used to it, and it's a sorry thing to get used to, but I've seen a lot of people murdered, and there wasn't a thing I could do about it. And, I tried, and there wasn't nothing I could do about it, but what's worse than them are the people that allow it, knowing that they have free will. And so we have made a deal with the devil, basically. They told us that we made that deal, and that deal was binding according to the master of universal law. It was binding contract. And that contract is almost up. And I heard not long ago, the other day, an interview with the CERN Collider, and it all made sense now. It all makes sense. In fact, I wrote the guy and told him I wished I would have listened to it sooner when Paul sent it to me. I wished I had the bandwidth that I could have heard it sooner, because now everything makes sense of what they're doing. they are going to come, and they are going to destroy this earth. And we're either going to be alive, we're either going to live in fear and die, or we're not going to live in fear, and we're going to do as the Bible instructed. And I'm going to tell you now that I did not believe in God at all when I was down there. But when I left, I'll never forget the day I came out of that place. Me and a few of the other guys, we actually got on our hands and knees and bawled crying.
Well, everything that you are saying makes perfect sense to me. It aligns with what I had seen on the dark side. You are collaborating exactly what my experiences also have been on the dark side.
Yeah, you can't see the dark side in the fashion that I did. And I had somebody come to me and say, "Do you believe in God?" "Yeah." "Well, what makes you think there's a God?" I said, "Because I've seen absolute evil in its absolute purest form of pure hate, no compassion, and murder. Every single day for a long, long time, I dealt with this every single day. And when we were down there, they couldn't find nobody that would do these jobs. So they were real quick to grant any of our wishes to make sure that we stayed. And I hate to admit this, they allowed us to use heroin down there so that we could push through it. It was so bad."
Yes, I can imagine. There are a lot of things that I am thinking about when you are talking that I could comment about. One of the things which is a most recent thought, but I could go back to some other stuff. As you're talking, I know for a fact that there are a number of people that are sent here at this time, for we are at the end of times and both sides are preparing for a final conflict. So there are people being sent here from the Holy God's kingdom that are very strong, and they are here now at this time and continuing to be sent in preparation for the war. Some people are familiar with a part of my testimony which I have stated before, and I remember the fact that I remember before I was born. There's a lot of people on the earth today remembering before they were born into a physical body or incarnated here they were in the heavenlies. They know of a mission. In fact, they know of their unique assignment from the Most High God.
This is a really important testimony. I'm going to say a prayer. Father, thank you so much for this opportunity to bring the Colonel and myself together to bring glory to you by exposing evil and also...
Hey, you know Dr. Theresa Tam, Justin Trudeau's hand-picked public health officer? Well, take a look at her in this government documentary about 10 years ago called Outbreak.
I think the public has to know this is one of the worst case scenarios in terms of an infectious disease outbreak, in that their cooperation is sought. If there are people who are non-compliant, there are definitely laws and public health powers that can quarantine people in mandatory settings. It's potential you could track people, put bracelets on their arms, have police and other setups to ensure quarantine is undertaken.
Don't care, but I want you to know, double vaxxed, booster, flu shot, and I'm going to be honest, I have the shingle shot too. And I still get my period. What? Yes! Traveled, went to Mexico twice, did shows, meet and greets, never got COVID. Clearly, Jesus loves me the most. Seriously. So nice, so nice.